Yeah, it's obviously everybody knows what Roman means to our club. He's first of all a very very good guy as part of the team, and unlucky so far this season. Um, in the end, I think these things happen, are incidents. It takes nothing away from obviously how we see him, and need to be very very supportive and help him on his rehab, so we can obviously reintegrate him this season still, and take part at the end of the season.
How does this affect what you're going to do transfer-wise? You've been looking for attacking pieces, and now you kind of lose one.
Well, to be honest, we were already scouting, and we've been down a lot of candidates on offensive strength, and obviously this strengthens the idea.
Is he a candidate for the season-ending injury list, and would that free up his DP spot, or I'm not exactly
No,
with all those rules?
no,
So
no, no, no. There's no thinking about it. First of all, because he'll be good before the season ends, and second of all, it wouldn't work like that with a DP player.
Denis, las complicaciones que trae esta adhesión de Román en su último año de contrato con la necesidad del equipo.
Bueno, pues son cosas de fútbol. Al final pasan, hay que actuar debidamente a lo que pasa, y pues, es un jugador muy importante para nosotros. Ha tenido grandes temporadas con el Galaxy. Este torneo desafortunado también la lesión, obviamente, y para nadie, ni para él ni para nosotros, es algo bueno, nos pone hasta ciertamente, obviamente, a triste, ¿no?
En inglés mencionaba ahora que ya ustedes obviamente estaban trabajando en opciones para mejorar el equipo en ofensiva y que con esto probablemente hay más urgencia. ¿Qué tan cerca estarían de poder tener una opción para reemplazar a...
Bueno, como bien sabes, aquí entre reglas, reglamentos y todos los temas que hay que brincar, siempre es un reto, pero yo creo que pronto podemos tener un poco más de noticias. Y independiente del caso de Román, porque Román al final de cuentas va a regresar este torneo con nosotros, sí hemos estado buscando y visoreando talento ofensivo.
¿Espera que pase antes de que se cierre la ventana de mayo o ya para el verano?
Antes.
you've always talked about finding another player. Does his injury speed up that process?
But we've looked at offensive pieces, because, as you know, with Ola leaving just before the season, obviously Giovanni parting, our needs have been partly offensively, and with everything that went into those moves, we were able to create some obviously possibilities on the midfield with Joe Corona, with Giancarlo coming in. And I think it's part of a puzzle that you're trying to create here to be strengthening everything. But an offensive piece, even before this transfer window ends, would be very welcome, yes.
Would this make you look more towards a flank player as opposed to a front runner?
What we're actually looking for is somebody that can play different positions, because it makes it easier. You see that when you start traveling, you see when you start having games midweek, that sometimes with somebody off or an injury or whatever reason, you go in quite deep into your roster. So the more versatile the player can be, the better it is.
How pleased have you been with Guillermo and what he's been able to do and kind of the trajectory that this team has been on this season?
Well, as you know, this is like a work in progress still. We've been trying to work to something that, on one end, I think, as the Galaxy needs to have, it needs to be competitive, and we need to be held against our results, which is, I think, is logical in a club where there's so much expectation and so much responsibility on our end. On the other hand, it also needs the decisions that you make need to go to a long-term process. But it's a little bit of a balance. So you need to be good short-term to be able to work long-term. I think that's probably the best assessment.
¿Román va a hacer la recuperación entera aquí o existe la posibilidad de que vaya a Francia por una parte de la recuperación y esté como cerca de su gente?
No, aquí en el área. Sí, aquí, su familia está aquí. Si tendríamos que hacer algo extra que en el área médica lo haríamos. Pues es un jugador sumamente importante, y la lesión fue debidamente tratado para que aquí podrá hacer su rehabilitación sin problemas.
I want to get your thoughts on the pipeline coming in. You guys have had 4 players either from the academy or two that have debuted this year.
Yes.
What's behind them? How do you see the pipeline working in the next, say, year or two?
I think it goes to a little bit like general idea within MLS in the United States. It's getting little by little more important, I think, to have younger players closer to first team, because obviously with expansion and with more need of talent and with the amount of talent that is available in the United States, I think this is something that should be looked at in a correct way. Now, there's no need to debut just for debuting players. It needs to be consistent, needs to be something that is obviously helpful and serves a longer term project to the team and the club. I think, for example, if you look at Efrain's case, there was a need in the first game for a player of his style, and I'm glad the coach didn't even doubt the second to put him on the field. Now, we also didn't doubt have him leave for national team duty, because it helps his development and it strengthens his position in going forward, being a better player. While we could use him here at the moment. But I think then the decision in between coaching staff and management is what is the best decision for the player in his development at that age. And I think it's very comforting to see that somebody like Julian Araujo is able to step in if needed. But obviously Rolf having a very strong start of the season. Like I said, there's travel, there's midweek games, there's obviously a busy summer coming up. Then it's very, very good to see that a guy like Julian can actually step up and play 2 good games.
What are your thoughts on Traore and on Zubak? What are the areas they most need to, I guess, advance in to see more time with the first team? And where do you think they are right now?
Well, I think Didi had a very good first half on the second team the other day. That's something also why it's such important to have a connection in between the second team and the first team. That first of all, you have players that can have valuable minutes in a good league, in a league where our young boys run up against men, and Didi did very well. I think he shows a lot of progress, and at some point there will be more than enough games, I think, where he can be an option for our coach, and that is probably the best thing. It's not, like I said, just to bring up guys what it is. If there is a possibility that the coach feels comfortable, independently of the age, but more so on the quality of the talent that they have, and that they can fill in a spot and they can be productive on the first team.
Okay. And Zubak?
Zubak, well, Ethan has done great, and based on talent and big part of his mentality, has created a spot for himself in our club, and I think there'll be options for him to play. You see him on training and he's very eager, he's eager to learn. There's still obviously room for him in certain ways to improve. But we did give him a contract because going towards the future and maybe later this season or probably next year, there'll be room for him to make minutes and have a value on our team. And also these kids, when you sign them, it's not you sign them for 2 weeks. You sign them for a process of an amount of years, and they'll have to work their way into it. Also, they have to earn it.
Definitely.
And we're not a club that now will go into all young players. No, if they're good enough, they'll have an opportunity. And I think that's a good message also for our academy players. If you're good enough, you'll have an opportunity here.
Speaking of the academy, you got 5 players playing in U17 CONCACAF championships. How encouraging is that? You know, last time around for these tournaments, there was not really a lot of Galaxy participation. Now you've got 3 players for the U.S., 1 player for Mexico, 1 player for Guatemala.
Yeah, I think it's a busy summer, obviously, in different levels, having call-ups. I think for these kids and that age group, and I've lived it many years, I think it's something extra in their development. If I go back to the days I was at the Mexican Federation, we always considered that helping each other in between clubs and federation, you can add something to their development. If the games and the camps and every detail of the co-ops are meaningful, these young kids will benefit from them highly. If they compete, obviously the 3 for US, Efra for Mexico, and Edgar for the other one, yeah. Then you have obviously players that have a meaningful tournament in Florida next week when it starts, and for them even run up against each other or having to defend their country, travel, a good professional environment, they come back and they have that as an extra experience, and it helps into their development, and it makes them a little bit better than what they are. So I think that it's something that we need to be supportive upon. Obviously, with a tight schedule in the first team and now having more younger guys close to the first team, it's sometimes a little bit of a challenge. But I think with the good communication that we have with the U.S. soccer and obviously Mexico and probably for the Gold Cup, maybe even with Costa Rica, and I think that we'll work our way around everything, and we'll do the best for our players and for our club.
Perfect. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.